Hello, and this is a short review for the Heavy Gear Python 2-pack. As some of you may not be aware of, the Heavy Gear miniatures are fantastic. They are highly detailed, but some of you might be asking, what do they make these things out of? I mean, you look at the prices and you think, geez, this thing must be expensive. Now, this one right here, I got as a 2-pack for about $15. That's a little abnormal. They usually retail for slightly more. These 2-packs like this one is usually around $18, and they are usually worth it. Sometimes you get a single and it's worth quite a bit more, usually around $20 like the Cobra. Now, as you'll see right here, I have a finished model right here to be seen. This is a Python. This is the Badlands version of the Python. A little history on the model. It is an older support gear following up on the success of the Jaeger. They decided that they needed a support gear. They needed something heavier to move with the lighter trooper gears and be able to take on heavier objects that the Jaegers were having trouble with, and that they didn't have to want to wait for tanks and other heavy support to come up. So this guy was supposed to move up with them, carry rocket packs, grenades, heavy machine guns, that sort of thing as its standard kit. It was successful, but it unfortunately was surpassed later on with other gears. Notably, it was eventually replaced with the Spitting Cobra, which is the more modern heavy gear. Now, this trooper gear still has a function in the heavy gear universe. It's usually used by cheaper militaries, and it is used in auxiliary roles. Apparently, a lot of them are still floating about. And as a matter of fact, there's still a favored unit among some industries and factions because you still have upgrade kits for it. Notably, this is the Badlands one. This has been fitted out with a medium guided mortar, I think. It might not be guided, but they do fit on an extra mortar, and it gets an extra sturdy box, and a lot of the problems that a lot of early gears have with their sensor suites and whatnot has been rectified with this one. If you take it as its normal version, it has a lot more flaws, but the points it costs for it properly for a gear that is hundreds of years old, or it's definitely older than everything else. It's a lot like the F4 in modern terms. It's very durable. It manages to acquit itself, and it has received a whole lot of upgrade kits and sees a lot of use in other nations' militaries, even when they probably shouldn't. The Humanist Alliance, in particular, has options. As a matter of fact, it's mandatory that they have to replace all their Spitting Cobras with these guys right here. This is an older gear, but it's a gear that they can produce with some of their limited production capabilities. Now, onto the production of the actual the model. The model itself, you'll notice, is multi-parted. There is a lot of parts. This is typical of most heavy gear models, in that you usually have a 1 or 2 part foot assembly. This one is a 1-part foot assembly, and center torso, a head, rocket pack, 2 arms. In this case, you also got the heavy autocannon. You usually have another part for the little engine pack on the back, and then another part for whatever its auxiliary piece is. Depending on the model, sometimes it's more parts, sometimes it's less. This one, this Python, actually it has all the bits and pieces that you need to make either the Badlands Python or the good one, or at least the original construction. I say the good one, but the good one is definitely the Badlands one. So, what do you get in the box? Well, let's break it out. Get a nice little card inset, and look at all those pieces. Now you might be thinking, wow, geez, this is still very expensive, and the guy pulled out a little thing for some detailing at one point before. You won't have that in a normal blister. You'll see you'll have the Accessory Sprue here, which has all the bits and pieces that you need to build just about anything you want. And usually with most heavy gear models, you're going to have extras. And you'll notice that, like this is a prime example of the things you got to worry about with a heavy gear model, that it has the little handle here on the heavy autocannon. You'll notice here that it isn't on there. There's a lot of custom work that needs to be done to get these things to come out, be put together and look just real nice. It's a little bit of a pain, but ultimately I find it's well worth it, because these things often are pretty posable. I mean, look at this guy. He's He's looking all badass. He's like, yeah, what's going on over there? You'll also find that you have the one-piece leg assembly, which you have 2 different kinds, slightly different poses. Another weapons accessory pack. You have 2 sets of arms. They are kind of interchangeable. I generally wouldn't do it. If you've got one arm on one, you might as well put the other one, because usually they're mated together. You'll notice that, like, this one's got like a gripping pose. You remember how I talked to you about the handle? Yeah, you got to cut that off and glue it on. What else? There's the torso, back, incredibly small head. Focus in there on that. Yeah. But I love it when the head is able to be glued on separately, because then you get like this really neat effect where you can point it out in the direction that you want. I actually have an example of another one around here somewhere that doesn't do that. And it annoys the mess out of me. That's this guy right here. It is the Basilisk. All their heads point forward. And if you ever decide to use more than 1 or 2 of them, you always have to really struggle with their poses, because they always inevitably look a little staticky. But what can you do? And that's what you get in them. It's actually really well detailed, a minimal amount of flash. Putting them together definitely requires a little bit more finesse and patience than a normal one. But there's some tips and tricks that you can do to make that go by faster. Generally, I have a clock that has a ticking sound, and I force myself to count off the tickets, 15, 30 ticks, before I pull my hands away. Otherwise I get in a rush and I want to do them all together. Another trick is to use a little bit of modeling clay, or just Play-Doh. If you can just like put it down and then put the Play-Doh and form it in the direction you want, and then put the torso on there, then go off, play a round of star conflict, and then come back, and you're done. And then just be patient, put it all together. You'll find that the only difference here is that you got the rocket pack and the mortar. The mortar is used for the Badlands version. This one's used for the original version, which is, again, a trend in the South, because most Southern gears, they have to do with either saturation bombardment through cheap means, you know, rocket packs like this, which are unguided and they just splash a wide area of damage, or they end up using really weapons that don't require a whole lot of maintenance, like you know, Gatling lasers or something like that, which is something that the North doesn't have to worry about, because they use guided munitions for everything, and it ends up being really useful for them. And there you go. Altogether, this is a fantastic deal. It's on the high end of expensive-ish, the gears are, but you don't need a whole lot of them to play, and I think you're getting a whole lot for your buck. The detail is fantastic, and I don't have any complaints. This is the only set of miniatures that I don't have any real concerns about. I mean, yeah, the price is on the bit of expensive-ish, or at least it feels expensive. When you really break it down compared to something like Games Workshop or some of the others, it's not. But it's easy to make that complaint when you have these Kickstarter deals where you get enough miniatures to insulate your house for only about $100. There you go. I hope it's been useful. I hope you get to see what's actually in one of these kits, because it's actually really, really fun. Catch you next time.